Hi, welcome to this lecture. Today we want to solve exercises related to comparing alternatives with equal lives, but we're going to use the method of incremental analysis using present worth. Let's begin with the first exercise. Here we have two options, machine A and machine B. You see, now we are not dealing with one project, we are comparing between two alternatives. And I want to look at the life. So machine A has a life of 3 years, machine B has a life of 2 years. Now this is a problem. I cannot compare those two machines if they don't have the same life. However, since the study period here, if you read, suppose that the firm needs either machine for 2 years, so this is my study period. If the study period is 2 years, so I can use B. It has a life of 2 years, and machine B, I will not use it for 3 years, I will only use it for 2 years. So first, when I read the given, I should know what is my study period and what is the life of each alternative. So since the life of is 2 years, so I don't have any problem. And I can choose between these two alternatives. Now let's read. The net proceeds from the sale of machine B is estimated to be $200. Net proceed is another meaning for the salvage value. So this is the 200. At the end of the life of machine B at the second year, I'm going to get $200. What should be the required net proceeds from the sale of machine A? So what's the salvage value of A? So that both machines could be economically indifferent or has the same worth. So first of all, we will draw the cash flow diagram of A and B. You see, I stopped here at year 2. I didn't use year 3 because the study period is 2 years. And this is the cash flow for B. You see here at year 2, we have $800 plus the salvage value of 200. So I just calculate the present worth of A. What do we have? We have minus $1,000 plus 900 into 1 plus I to the power minus 1, far away by 1 period, plus 800, and the salvage value that occur together at year 2 into 1.1 to the power minus 2. This is present worth of A, equated to the present worth of B in the same way, minus 2,000 plus 2,500 into 1.1 to the power minus 1. And here we have 800 plus 200, so I have a total of 1,000 at year 2. So I multiply it with 1.1 to the power minus 2. Equate those together, you will be able to get a salvage value of $750. Now another exercise. Here I want to choose which machine between these two mutually exclusive alternatives. This means that I'm going to choose only one. If we need either machines for only 3 years, so this is my study period. Now, in the question here, I'm specifying the method of solution. Use incremental analysis and present worth method, assuming that the MARR is 12%. So when I use incremental analysis, this means that I'm going to say machine 2 minus 1 or machine 1 minus 2. First of all, let's look here. This is the life of 3 years, okay, within the study period. And machine E2 has a life of 5 years, but I will stop here. Now, I need you to pay attention to those values here related to the salvage value. Here, I'm specifying. If you used this machine for 1 year, then the salvage will be 200. When I used it for 3 years, it's going to be 150. Same here. I will use it both for 3 years, so I'm going to stop here. Okay, those are not going to be used, and the salvage value will be $320. Now here I just want to decide, is E1 better, E2 better, it's indifferent, the same, or I cannot compare. Now, I will begin with the incremental analysis. What do we say about the incremental analysis? We arrange the alternatives in increasing order according to the initial investment. This is the initial investment. This is 400 and this is 600. So here this is the correct order. It is E1, then E2. So when I want to do the incremental analysis, I will say it is E2 minus E1. So I begin by drawing the cash flow of both. Then Okay, so here in the solution, I will put the cash flow related to E2, E1, and I want to draw the cash flow related to E2 minus E1. Okay, so I arrange them in above each other, and I will begin. E2 minus E1, this means that I'm gonna subtract this 600. It is minus 600. Minus 400, this means that I'm gonna get the value of minus 200. And this is how I know that this is correct, because any new cash flow diagram should start with a downward arrow. Okay, so if you decided that you're gonna use E1 minus E2, the resultant will be minus 400 minus 600, it is plus 200. So the first arrow is upward, and we never begin any investment with an upward arrow. So it will be wrong. So you know that you arranged in a wrong order. So that's why you have to make sure that the first arrow is downward. So it is E2 minus E1, it is true. Now what do we have? We have an annuity of $250. Okay, $250, and it's ranging from year 1, 2, 3, and here same annuity ranging from year 1 till 3, but the value of it is 300. If I subtract E2 minus 250 minus 300, the value will be plus 50. It's all right. So this is the plus 50. Now here I have the salvage value, which is the $320 minus $150. It is the value here, which is $170. So this is the salvage value. Now I got to the new cash flow diagram. You see, I will treat it as if it is a new cash flow diagram. What will I do with it? I will get its present worth. So it's going to be the present worth of E2 minus E1. This is the cash flow of E2 minus E1. Now, what is the present worth? Minus 200 plus annuity. So 50, I'm getting P equals A into P, knowing A, 12%, the MARR, and 3 periods, plus salvage value, which is a future value, into P, knowing FIN. Now, the value was positive. Okay, so I will say the present worth of E2 minus E1 positive. So this means that E2 is better. If the present worth of E2 minus E1 was negative, then E1 is better. So this is how we choose between alternatives using incremental analysis and the present worth method. After I do the incremental analysis, subtracting the values, I'm going to judge using the present worth. Another exercise. Here we have two mutually exclusive projects using incremental analysis and present worth method. Which project is better? This time I'm gonna do the subtractions on the table. I don't want to draw a cash flow diagram for this one and then subtract the cash flow. So you choose the method that you want. You want to make your calculations on the cash flow diagram or using a table like this one. So I'm gonna just add a new column which is related to the incremental analysis. Now you need to decide, is it B minus A or A minus B? As we said, the first value should be a negative one. So you say, if I say A minus B, so it's going to be minus 3,000 minus 500, it will be plus 2,000. So this is wrong. But if you say B minus A, this means that minus 5,000 minus 300, it's going to be minus 2,000. So this is true. So I'm going to subtract the values of B minus A. So minus 5,000 plus 3,000 and it's minus 2,000. Here the values are the same. So this one minus this one equals to 0. This one minus this one 0 as well. Here at year 3, I have 5,406 minus 1,500. So this is the value. Now this is the new cash flow related to the incremental analysis of B minus A. As we said, we're going to treat it as a new cash flow diagram. I'm going to get the present worth of this new cash flow diagram. We have minus 2,000 plus $3,906, which is a future value occurring after 3 years. So you will say P equals F into 1 plus I to the power minus N. So the final answer is $260. It is a positive value. So the present worth of B minus A is positive, then B is better. This is how we use the incremental analysis using present worth. Hi, we are continuing with the chapter related to comparing alternatives, but this time with the method of incremental analysis and IRR. So here I have 5 alternatives. You see that we arranged them in increasing order according to the initial investment. As we said that this one is going to be the base alternative because it has the least investment. I'm gonna compare those alternatives using incremental analysis and IRR. Now, which gonna be the best option? First of all, I need to compare the MARR, which is 10%, to the IRR of each project or each alternative alone. Now, the IRR of A is 10.6. Is it greater than the MARR of 10%? Yes, so it stays for the comparison. B is 13%, greater than the MARR of 10%. So yes, it stays. Now C is 9.6%. It is less than the MARR. So it doesn't get me the rate of return that I request. So from the beginning, I drop it from the comparison. I do not compare it with the rest. D is 19.1, greater than 10. E, 18.3, greater than 10. So here I will only have 4 options, A, B, D, and D. So right away, your first step from the beginning, once you have any set of alternatives, is comparing the IRR of each alternative to the MARR. If it's greater than the MARR, it stays for the comparison. Now, with those 4 left alternatives, A still has the least initial investment, so it's my base alternative. B is the next one in order, so I'm gonna compare B to A. So I'm gonna use incremental analysis. This means that I'm gonna develop a new column related to B minus A. I'm gonna subtract these values, 1500 minus 900, this value minus this value. I'm gonna get a new column. So it's gonna look like this. This is the new column related to incremental analysis of B minus A. So as we said, the value here is minus 600. Which is as it should be. The first value in the initial investment should be negative. So when I want to draw the cash flow diagram of B minus A, I have to begin with a negative arrow. Can I begin an investment and I'm gonna earn $600? No, you are investing in a project, so you have to pay money at year 0. So this is the correct way. So this is increment analysis of B minus A. The first value is minus 600. The annuity is 126. So this is the new cash flow diagram related to the incremental analysis of B minus A. Now, previously, we used to get the present worth of this new cash flow diagram. Now, the difference is that I'm going to get the IRR of this new cash flow diagram. And I will compare it to the MARR. If the IRR of this new cash flow diagram, which is related to B minus A, is greater than the MARR, then I will say that B is better. However, if the IRR of B minus A was less than the MARR, then A is better. So here my comparison is with the MARR. Now I see that the MARR of the IRR of B minus A is greater than the MARR, then B is better. So B becomes the new base alternative instead of A. So if I go back to the table, you will see that B was better than A, so A gets out of the comparison. So now I have to compare B to D, because B becomes the base alternative. So I'm going to do incremental analysis for D minus B, subtracting 4,000 from 1,500 and this value from this value. So it's going to look like this. This is the new table for D minus B. I'm going to get the IRR of D minus B. It is 22.6. I want to compare it to the MARR. It is greater than the MARR. Then who's better? It's going to be D. So D is better than B. Now, who's left in my comparison? If D is better than B, so I'm comparing E to D. In the same way, subtract this value from this value and this value from this value. You will get a new column, a new cash flow related to E minus D. I'm going to get the IRR of E minus D. You see that the IRR is also greater than the MARR, so this means that E is better. So I'm going to choose alternative E. Now the question can look in this way as well. Here in this table, we have two parts. This first part is related to each alternative, its initial investment, and it's arranged in order, and the IRR of each alternative. And in this part, we have the incremental analysis between the alternatives. So here, I don't want you to calculate the IRR of B minus A. It is already calculated for you. It is this value. Okay, here this 20 is the comparison between C and A. Here it is between C and B, and so on. So the IRR of C minus B is 12%. So here the IRR of the incremental analysis, you see, rate of return on increment analysis, it is already calculated in this table. Now I'm gonna solve this exercise in 3 different ways. I'm gonna change the given in each time. Here I'm asking if all investment alternatives are independent, okay, and the MARR is 10%, which of the following is correct? You remember when we explained the difference between the types of alternatives, we said that we might have independent alternatives. This means that I can choose them all if they have their IRR is greater than the MARR. So here I'm saying that they are independent and the MARR is 10%. So A has an IRR of 12% greater than the MARR. B, 15, greater than 10, 13, 20, 18. So you see all of these alternatives has their IRR, rate of return, greater than the MARR. So this means that I can do them all. Okay? If I look at the options, you will see that we have the option of select them all. Now here I didn't have to look at this part of the table because I didn't have to do any incremental analysis. Because incremental analysis is done only to mutually exclusive alternatives where I have to choose only one option. But with respect to the independent, I can do them all if I have the proper budget. So please read the question carefully. So here I have a set of independent alternatives and I can do them all. Now if I change the question and tell you if all the alternatives are mutually exclusive, this means that I'm going to choose only one, the best one, and the MARR is 12%. Which one is the best? Here, the first step will be comparing the IRR of the alternatives to the MARR. It is 12%. So this one is good. All of them are greater than the MARR. So I will keep them for comparison. Now, since they are mutually exclusive, this means that I'm going to have to look at this second part of the table. And I want to start doing the comparison. First of all, since A is the base alternative with the least initial investment, it's going to be the first one to be compared with the next one, which is B. So I'm going to say here, IRR of B minus A, you see here B, comparing B to what? To A. So this is the IRR equals to 28% of B minus A. 28%. Is it greater than the MARR 12%? Yes. So which one is better? I'm getting the IRR of B minus A, so B is better. Now B remains in the competition and I want to compare it with the next one, which is C. Now here I have two values. This one is related to IRR of C minus A. A is out, so I do not use this number. I'm comparing C to B. So this value, the 12%, is related to C. You see this is C and this is on the horizontal side, B. So this is the IRR of C minus B, which is 12%, equal to the MARR. So that means that still C is better. So it becomes the new base alternative to compare it with D. I'm comparing D with C. Now, which one of these values is related to the IRR of D and C? This one is related to D and A, D and B, and this is D minus C. So IRR of D minus C is 42% greater than the MARR, so D is better. Now I will have to compare it to E. What is the value related to D and E? This is E minus A, E minus B, E minus C, and E minus D. Okay, so the IRR of E minus D was minus 5, less than the MARR, so this means that E is not good. D will be the best solution, since the IRR of E minus D, you see this is E, and this is D, and this is the IRR of E minus D. It is less than the MARR, so D is better than E. So this is the choice. Now, what if I tell you that these are still mutually exclusive alternatives, but the MARR is 25%? Which alternative should be chosen? We agreed that the very first step is always compare the IRR of the alternatives to the MARR. It's 25%, so this one is less than 25. This one and this one and this one, all of them has their rate of return less than the MARR. So I will not choose any. Right away, all of these values will be excluded from the beginning. There's no need to go to this part of the table and do an incremental analysis because I'm gonna select none of them. Now let's look at another exercise. Here we have two alternatives, A and B. I'm gonna do the incremental analysis. This is the first step. Then I'm gonna use the IRR. But here I have a problem. That initial investment of A is minus 18,000 and of B it's the same value. So if I'm gonna say A minus B, it's gonna give me 0. B minus A, it's gonna be 0. So I cannot decide how to do the incremental analysis. Is it A minus B or B minus A? So when I have this case, which is here a special case, I will delete this first row. Alright? I will begin the comparison out of the next year, year 1. And I will see, will the value of this one minus this one give me a positive value or a negative value? So if I say 960 minus 11,000, it's gonna give me a negative value. So I have to say it is gonna be A minus B. Because if I say B minus A, the value will be 11,000 minus 900, it's gonna be plus 10,640. And we agreed that the first arrow has to be a downward arrow. So that's why it's gonna be incremental analysis using A minus B. So I'm gonna subtract all these values from these values. This is the new cash flow diagram that I will get. Now, I will not get its present worth, I will get its IRR. Remember, because I'm using the IRR method. Now, I know that the IRR of A minus B was 14%, 0.7, and the MARR is 12%, so which one is better? It's gonna be A. So let's look at the options here. We have select B because it will generate 20% profit as opposed to 18%. Now look here, what it's tricky here. They are saying that it's gonna generate 20%. IRR of B is greater than IRR of A, so choose B. We never compare IRR of the alternatives to each other. We only compare IRR of alternatives to the MARR only. So this is tricky, okay? And we realize that we do not select A, the choice, we do not select B, sorry, we will choose A. So this alternative is wrong. Select A because its increment exceeds 12%. Increment, so the increment of A minus B, the IRR of the increment exceeds 12%. That's why I chose A. This is the correct option. Let's read the rest. Select B because its rate of return is higher than A. I'm gonna choose B because the IRR of B is greater than A. We never do that. Select B because it recovers most of the investment during the first year. Here I have more return. No, we do not select based on this. We only compare IRR of the increment to the MARR, so that's why we chose B. Let's move on to the next question, exercise 3. Here I have two projects and I want to choose the best. Now here it's asking, determine the range of the MARR which makes project 2 preferred over project 1. Here I didn't specify the method of solution. I didn't tell you use incremental analysis and present worth or use incremental analysis and IRR. I didn't say. So you have you can choose whatever you want as long as you get the final answer which project is better. But the options here will give you a guide which method to use. Here I'm saying the MARR is less than 12.5%. So you see that I'm comparing the MARR to the IRR. So you have to use incremental analysis plus IRR. If in the options I didn't specify, I was just saying 1 is better, 2 is better, they are indifferent. or so on. So in this way, you can choose the method of solution you like. But if in the options it is specified, you'll have to follow the options. So here I have to get the incremental analysis and IRR. So, and here they have specified where project 2 is preferred over 1. So I'm telling you it is project 2 minus project 1. And you can also tell from the initial investment, it is minus 2,000 plus 1,000. The first arrow is negative, so it is project 2 minus project 1, but I'm giving you a hint here as well. So I'm gonna just draw a column related to P2 minus P1. I'm gonna subtract the values, minus 2,000 plus 1,000 minus 800, 1,500 minus 600, 900, here the same, 0. I'm gonna get the IRR of this new cash flow diagram. What is the first step in doing the IRR? Setting the present worth equals to 0. So what do we have in my present worth? Minus 800 initial investment plus $900, a future value at year 1, equals to 0. So I know that the factor P knowing Fi1 equals to this value. We can use the several methods that we have learned. We can use the table, we can use the equation, we can choose two values and interpolate, or use the graphical method. I do not force you to use any method. You choose the method that you like. So here I'm gonna choose the easiest method, which is the rule. I'm gonna say that this factor equals to 1 plus I to the power minus 1. So using this simple calculation, I can tell that I equals to 0.125. So it is 12.5%. And we have learned that if the IRR of P2 minus P1 was greater than or equal to the MARR, then P2 is better. And I'm saying that P2 is better. I'm preferring P2 over P1. So I'm just going to put the equation here. IRR of 2 minus 1, which is the 12.5%, is greater than or equals to the MARR. Because I know that if 2 minus 1 is better, 2 is better than 1, then IRR of 2 minus 1 has to be greater than the MARR. And I already calculated the IRR of the 2 minus 1. You just put the IRR in this rule, so you will say 12.5% is greater than or equals to the MARR. So this is the range of the MARR that will make option 2 or project 2 preferred over 1. So I'm gonna choose option A. So this was the end of the exercises related to incremental analysis and IRR method.